Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to have a look at another collaboration beer. So this one is half German on the home side, half Swedish on the away side, and both of the breweries involved in this one have featured on the channel a couple of times before. When it comes to the German brewery, these guys are one of the first American style breweries in Germany that I ever encountered. I've tried a few different styles from them, and they've always been pretty damn solid in my experience, so probably fair to describe this brewery as being solid all round. Now when it comes to the Swedish brewery, they are most definitely best known for their different kinds of fruity, juicy, smoothie, Nordic, whatever we're going to call them, sour beers, and I've tried quite a few from them over the years, and one of my local breweries as well, from Skåne. But the beer that we're having a look at today is one of the German brewery's latest releases here in Hong Kong. It's a style that I haven't tried from them, but one that I've tried many times from the Swedish brewery. You're probably going to know what style it is now, of course, but it is supposed to be pretty damn nice actually. So needless to say, I'm very, very curious to see what this one's going to have in store for us. Hopefully it's another good beer. Hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and as always, I hope that you guys watching enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for this review then, for the home side of things, we are going to go to Germany. We're going to go to the northwest of the country, to the state of Schleswig-Holstein, and we're going to go to the beautiful city of Lübeck. And that means that we're going to have a look at another beer from the wonderful Sudden Death Brewing Company. So this particular beer is called Aspiring Beam of Light. It comes in at 5% ABV. It's a fruity, smoothie, Nordic, whatever you're going to call it, sour beer, and it has mango, papaya, yuzu and banana in it, and it's also brewed in collaboration with the wonderful Elmeleven brewery from Arlöv, just outside of Malmö, in my home county of Skåne back in Sweden. So yeah, this should be really nice actually. It's the first beer involving Elmeleven that I've tried with yuzu in it, and yuzu can be really, really interesting when you put it into these fruited modern sour beers actually. But yeah, it's my very first sour beer from Sudden Death. I've had imperial stouts, IPAs and a few other things from these guys, but never a fruited sour. But you know, Elmeleven really know what they're doing with this one, so I'm sure Sudden Death, I've heard Sudden Death do as well, so I'm sure these guys will come up with something pretty damn good. But yeah, really cool to find a collaboration with these guys, especially in Hong Kong. So yeah, let's crack on with this one then and see what it's all about. So as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting though, just fast forward. You'll find all the usual links in the video description below. That's the brewery websites, the link to my other reviews that I've done, both from Sudden Death Brewing and also from Elmeleven, and we will no doubt add more to both of those lists at some point in the near future. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The support that you give is massively appreciated, and remember, you can go into the channel homepage and search for beer using the geography tagging system. So just go in there, use the little search bar, put in your hometown, state, county, province, whatever you like. If I've reviewed beers from the area that you search for, they will pop up. Failing that though, you can check out the playlist of beers from different countries. You'll find this one in both the German and the Swedish playlist, since it is dual nationality. And do make sure you check out the playlist of beers from other countries as well, because there are some very interesting things on at the channel these days, even if I do say so myself. This is yet another beer that I picked up from the wonderful Ger Beer in the One Mall in Tsim Sha Tsui in Kowloon here in Hong Kong. I'll put the link to their Facebook and Instagram in the video description for you below, so make sure you check those guys out because they do get a really good selection of things from across the world, so I'm always keeping my eye on that. But yeah, let's go on to my brewery notes then, and I'll tell you a wee bit about the breweries. We'll start off with Sudden Death Brewing Company, since they are the home brewery in this instance. So Sudden Death Brewing Company, as I've mentioned to you already, are based in the city of Lübeck in Schleswig-Holstein in the northwest of Germany. But the company was started by two friends, Ricky Nagel and Oliver Schmocker, both of whom are hockey enthusiasts, hence the brewery's symbol, if you like. But they often travelled to the US to watch hockey. Their favourite team was the Boston Bruins, and over there they encountered the various IPAs and other American beer styles. But they soon became frustrated because they couldn't get these beers in Germany, despite the fact that it is obviously one of the beer countries in the world. So they decided to start a home brewing business, and then Ollie soon trained as a beer sommelier. But the pair continued to develop their recipes on a small 50-litre brewing kit, and then they started gypsy brewing their beers on a larger scale at other breweries. So the company was based in Ricky and Oliver's hometown of Timmendorfer Strand, which is a little bit to the north of Lübeck, for a couple of years. But later on in 2022, they opened their own brewery in the Gollen shipyard in Lübeck, and this apparently has become a little bit of a hub for small businesses and cultural events. And if you look at the pictures of the venue, it seems really nice. I think I need to go and try and visit there during the summer. But the new brewery has an on-site tap room which also serves pizzas, and they offer tours as well. And like I say, it's supposed to be a really quite nice place, and I've not been to Lübeck in some time. Definitely need to go and check it out. But as of October 2024, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced around 240 different kinds of beer. They're known for their IPAs these days, the hazies and the West Coasts, but they're doing quite a few kind of traditional beers as well, from what I understand. So yeah, I'm catering to both the more traditional German market, but also doing some really quite interesting American style stuff as well. I'm trying to spread that a wee bit, which is great to see. But yeah, these guys, one of the first American style German craft brews that I encountered, and they do some really good stuff. From what I remember, they were brewing some of their beers down in Bavaria for a little while before they got their own brewery set up. But yeah, definitely one of the more modern German breweries that you really need to check out if you have the chance. But yeah, that's everything I can tell you about Sudden Death Brewing Company for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a little bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's go on then and move to the Swedish side of things. We'll head a little bit northeast of Lübeck. So Elmeleven, as I've mentioned to you already, are based in the Malmö area of Sweden, and the company was founded by Anders Kvist. So he started his brewing project a few years ago in 2016, and he says that he views brewing his beer as a sort of artistic expression. But his interest in beer started when his friend bought him what he called a non-industrial lager beer, and he was just blown away. You know, this is what beer could actually be. But soon after this, his girlfriend bought him a cheap beer kit where you could just basically add water, and he felt that it must be possible to do it in, such a better way. And so this pushed him into home brewing, and he took part in various competitions, and then he joined the -1 collective based in the basement of Bishop's Arms in Gustav Adolfs Torg in Malmö, and it was there that he sold his first commercial beers. But production over the first few years was very small, only a couple of thousand litres, but a while later he started brewing in the Nerd, Chad and Lilla Ulffabriken brewery in Rosengård, Malmö, and he had several Systembolaget releases over the course of 2020. In the early days they were brewing some IPAs, but mainly they brew fruited sours, and Anders says that he wants to keep trying new things with the brewery in the future. So yeah, you're going to see more different styles from these guys over the next wee while. But in March of 2021, a new collective called Molecule was announced. This included Elmeleven, Nerd Brewing and Chad Beer, and they have a new brewery in Arlöv which started off with a 1500 litre brew kit. But Nerd Brewing left the Molecule collective in mid-2024, and after this happened, the Chad Beer brand was dissolved, and basically the Chad Brewing beers and the Elmeleven beers will be released under one banner, but they're going to diversify a lot and do lots of different styles. The way it worked before was that Nerd Brewing released the Imperial Stouts and the barley wines and things like that. Elmeleven were doing the sort of fruited sours, then the IPAs and lagers were released under the Chad Beer brand. But all of that now, all of those different styles are now going to take place under the name Elmeleven, but Nerd Brewing will continue as a separate band at a different brewery. But the name Elmeleven was taken from where Anders lived, which was Almbacksgatan 11. So Alm is elm in English, as in the species of tree, and then Elva 11. But yeah, this is just something that stuck with Anders from his home brewing days. But as of October 2024, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced around 110 different kinds of beer. And like I said to you, at the moment, they are still best known for the different kinds of fruity, juicy, smoothie, whatever you want to call them, sour beers, but they are going to be brewing some different stuff over the next wee while, which is going to be interesting. So hopefully I can try some of those for you over the next wee while. But yeah, that is everything I can tell you about Elmeleven for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a wee bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's go on then and actually have a little look at the beer itself. So yeah, it's been sweating a little bit because it's getting a wee bit humid in Hong Kong once again. But yeah, the artwork on this one is very much typical of the Elmeleven style, so I'm guessing this label is Anders' handiwork once again. And you know, if you ever come across Anders, do talk to him. He's a lovely guy, very distinctive, long red hair, very colourful tattoos. Yeah, but yeah, genuinely lovely guy. But yeah, the artwork on this one, that has to be him. Pretty sure that's that he's designed this one. Just if you look at the Elmeleven labels, you'll see what I mean. But there you can see the Sudden Death Brewing Company symbol there with the hand on top of it. The Elmeleven one is kind of around here as well. I don't know if this is a newer symbol that they're using, but plain silver top on the can here. This one is this 440 milliliters? Yeah, 440 milliliter can, this one, which is actually a little bit unusual for a German brewery. I don't know if this is becoming more common in Germany, but usually even the craft breweries, they'll sell their beers in half-liter cans rather than 440s. But as we said earlier, 5% ABV this one, and it's a fruity sour with mango, papaya, yuzu and banana in it. So yeah, this will be a yellow sour, and I have to say, when it comes to Elmeleven, I loved their yellow sour. So I'm just going to roll the can a little bit and mix it up, because this one has been in the fridge for maybe 2-3 weeks, something like that. I've been meaning to get around to reviewing this one for you. But yeah, let's get this guy out into the glass and see what it's all about. Really looking forward to this. That looks good. That does look very nice. We'll leave a little bit in the glass, or in the can, for the moment while we check out the aroma. But yeah, you can see that this thing has basically poured without much of a head on at all. There was just a little bit of foam forming on top of it there. But yeah, it's poured a lovely kind of mango juice colour, as I would say. Yeah, so remember, the colour of your beer depends on a few things. One, the type of malts that you use. This goes a long way to determining your EBC rating. Two, length of your wort boil is going to play a role, because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, and thus you get a darker colour of beer. But any barrel aging that you do or adjuncts you put into the beer will affect its colour as well. And when it comes to the kind of modern sour beers such as this one, that's going to be the kind of deciding factor in terms of the colour of the beer that you're going to get. So the colour of this one will probably be coming from the mango and the papaya for the most part. I don't think the yuzu and the banana are going to affect the colour all that much. But one or two bubbles sticking toward the side of the glass, a few little ones going up toward the surface of the liquid there. But all in all, it looks pretty damn nice, this one, and you can see that it's opaque as hell, and that's mostly due to the fruit puree that's used in the beer, as well as the oats and the wheat and things in the malt base too. But yeah, in terms of what you would expect appearance-wise from a kind of modern fruity smoothie, whatever we're going to call it, sour beer, there's nothing really surprising about this one. So I think we've said everything we need to about the appearance. Let's go on and have a wee look at the aroma then. I'm very, very curious about this. So, interesting. I will say the aroma of this one, it's the yuzu that jumps out at you, but yuzu is a very, very pungent fruit actually, so that kind of makes sense. But in honesty, there's not too much coming out of it otherwise. But that said, when it comes to these kind of modern sour beers, like they tend to be very simple in terms of their like composition and flavor profile and stuff like this. But if they're done right, they're really, really nice beers to drink. You can't knock them. And I've always said that about the Elmeleven beers. They're quite simple in terms of, you know, what they are and the flavour profile that you get, but they're just great. They're just lovely beers to drink, and you can't ask for much more than that these days, and I've got a feeling that this one is going to be the same. But for those of you who don't know, yuzu is this, I think it's about the size of a lime, and it's this Japanese citrus fruit. and it's got a very, very potent and very, very distinctive aroma. It's used quite often for cooking and things and different sauces and stuff. But yeah, the aroma that comes out of this one is really quite nice. But yeah, as I say, the yuzu almost overpowers a lot of the other stuff in here. It's quite difficult to pick up what else is going on. I mean, let's just try and break it down a wee bit for you. Yeah, I mean, I think the way to describe the yuzu in the yuzu, generally speaking, is that it's got the potency of lemon or grapefruit, but it's actually more of a kind of limey aroma. But yeah, again, it's very unique. But yeah, behind that, you can smell a few things. There is a little bit of like a bready character to this one, so you can smell a little bit of like fresh white bready bread crust. There's a wee bit of like brown bread, white bread in there. There's a bit of that kind of yogurty character that you often get out of these beers. You know, quite often these smoothie sours will contain a lot of wheat and oat, and yeah, that's going to kind of combine together with the fruit puree to give you this sort of yogurty petit filou type thing. You're getting that out of this beer as well. There's maybe a tiny little bit of vanilla in there as well. There's no vanilla in the beer, but it still gives the impression of vanilla almost. And then at the back of the nose, there's a little touch of yeasty character coming out of the beer as well. So for me, there's a little bit of like brown bread and white bread and stuff like this. So yeah, the way that goes together in this one is really quite nice. Yeah, I do really like that in this beer. Yeah, the bready and malty, or the yeasty and malty side of this one, as I say, is quite nice, but nothing unusual that I've not had. I've never had this kind of beer from Sudden Death, but it's kind of what I would expect based on the Elmeleven ones. But yeah, in terms of the hoppy side of this beer then, it's always interesting to ask brewers about their approach for sour beers, or with hops for sour beers. Because, you know, back in the olden days with the Flanders Reds and the Lambics and things, what they would do is add older hops that had lost a little bit of their alpha acid potency to the sour beer, because they didn't want the bitterness to detract from the sourness of the beer. Fast forward to today though, with the more modern sour beers, a lot of brewers will argue that adding fruit into the beer as adjunct is going to suppress the hoppy bitterness anyway, so why bother adding the hops? Other breweries take the approach of, oh yeah, it adds a little bit more flavour complexity, so we'll add it in. You know, Holy Goat and Vault City in my homeland of Scotland do that, but the Swedish sour breweries such as Elmeleven and Duck Pond and Fermenterna and guys like that, they tend not to add hops into these beers. So it really just depends what you want to do. I get the impression that this beer doesn't have hops in it, but you could, with the kind of pungency of the yuzu would be the ideal fruit to mask that. So we need to dive into that a little bit more from the actual flavour. But regardless of whether there's hops in these beers or not, you do still quite often get this little placebo aroma. So I'm getting a little touch of earthiness out of it, a little bit herbal character, but quite a wee bit of floral and grassy note as well. So like, all in all, the way that this one goes together is really, really nice. So yeah, green component is good in this one. In terms of the fruity side of things, when your nose adjusts to it and gets over the pungency of the yuzu, you can smell a little bit of the banana in there, you can smell the juiciness of the mango, and was it passion fruit that was in here as well? I'm getting a wee bit of like passion fruit out of this one. Oh no, it's papaya. Yeah, I'm getting a wee bit of an almost more passion fruity and apricot-y type note out of this beer. So yeah, papaya, not so much, but yeah, you can smell the banana. For me, the yuzu is the most pungent one, and then yeah, the mango for sure is quite prominent in this too. But all in all, aroma-wise, it's kind of what you would expect from the style, in honesty, especially if you know Elmeleven. Can't really speak for Sudden Death. We'll need to try one of their own smoothie sours at some point. But yeah, it goes together quite nicely, I have to say. So as I always say, take a little bit of time to just enjoy the aroma of your beers before you get stuck into them. But I think it's about time to have a taste of this one then, and see what it's all about. So yeah, this one is the Aspiring Beam of Light, a 5% fruity smoothie, whatever you're going to want to call it, sour beer from Sudden Death Brewing Company in Lübeck, Schleswig-Holstein, Germany, in collaboration with Elmeleven from Arlöv in Skåne, and at the very south of Sweden. Let's get stuck into this one. Slange, skål, and cheers. Yeah, that's pretty damn nice. Not that I wouldn't have expected anything differently, but yeah, that is good. I'd actually been, it's kind of funny to find a yuzu beer involving Anders, actually, because when I'd spoken to Anders, I've not spoken to him in a while now, obviously, with being in Hong Kong, but when I spoke to him before, I was saying to him that he should try something with cloudberries and something with yuzu. Because yuzu is really interesting, and cloudberries, of course, is kind of distinctly Swedish or Nordic. But it's interesting because yuzu has the power to dominate a beer, and it does, but it doesn't. In this case, it doesn't do it too dominantly, if that makes sense. It's not overpowering everything else, but it certainly gives the beer this really nice kind of light and drinkable vibe. It's very much a summer beer, this one, actually. I would say to both the breweries, yeah, produce this again for the summer, but it is very good, and it's certainly up there with the standard of stuff that I've had from Elmeleven in the past, and I'm sure Sudden Death can do similar things as well. But yeah, the way that this one goes together is really nice. I have to admit though, I would wonder, a lot of Germans would enjoy this, but they probably wouldn't say it was beer, actually, unless, you know, opinions in Germany are changing. They're very ingrained, in my experience, with what beer is and things like that. So it's interesting, they're accepting the American styles like the IPAs and stuff like this, but probably something like this is, I wonder, maybe it's a little bit of a push too far. They will drink it, of course, but whether they'd accept it as beer or not, I'd be very curious to know. Especially when you consider that these beers are more, it's more to do, it's basically a malt base. You don't have hops and things like that, so it's not kind of brewed in the same way as like a Helles or an IPA or anything like this. But yeah, I have to say, once again, very straightforward beer in terms of its in terms of its flavour profile. Very straightforward, if you like, but again, really, really nice to drink. I enjoy this one. So yeah, it gives you everything you want. You've got the nice kind of creamy yogurty malt base, the fruity character to it, and just that little bit of green component placebo. So yeah, I like it. Let's just break this one down and describe it for you more in depth, as we always do. Middle third of your palate, the backbone of the beer, fresh white bready bread crust in there. As you move further forward on that middle third of your palate, you get the nice wee bit of woody character coming out of it. Above that, you've got a wee touch of Jacob's cream cracker. But the cracker and woody notes, I would say, in this one are very, very subtle, actually. Very, very subtle. And yeah, for me, above that, you start to get some bready notes. So there's like a slightly sweet, brown bready sort of note to this one. It's quite a wet brown bread. Then above that, you've got a white bready character, which is nice. And then yeah, it's more a kind of yogurty type note that you start to get above that. So you can maybe feel a bit more of a dense white bready character. So you've got the brown bread, the white bread, then the more dense wheaty white bread out of this one. And you can feel the wheat sort of dries up a little bit further back on that middle third of your palate. But yeah, further forward, it's very, very smooth as well, actually. So yeah, you've got that layer of wheaty character in there. Then above that, you start to get the kind of yogurty side of things to the beer. So that's the oats, obviously, that are giving you that. So that lovely big creamy oaty character in the middle of the palate. It's a little bit drier the further out to the sides of the palate that you go, but then in the dead centre of your palate, you've got that little bit of like Werther's Original butter candy butterscotch coming out of this one, which is nice. And that, of course, is the alcohol in the beer. So yeah, you've maybe got a teeny little hint of biscuit as well, actually, and maybe, yeah, just a little hint of vanilla. You know, it gives you that kind of yogurty sort of vibe. So that's the middle third of your palate in this one. Again, quite straightforward and nothing unusual when you think about what style of beer this is, but still really quite enjoyable. Yeah, I think that's everything we need to say about the middle third of your palate in the beer. But let's let's have a go, a look at the back third of your palate. As I've often said, sweeter flavours will come out further forward in the palate, more dry and bitter flavours will come out further back. And the back third of your palate is going to give you a very similar flavour to the middle third of your palate, just at different intensities. But yeah, the border region between middle and back third of your palate, you get that nice little bit of bready build up in there. You've got brown bread in the base, white bread in the middle, then a more kind of wheaty bitey white bready character on top. But then yeah, the base of the back third of your palate, it's a little bit more yeah, you've got a little bit more of the bread crust in there, and obviously it's a little bit dry. You've got a bit of the cracker, the brown bready layers there, it's a little bit lighter, taller and more airy. The white bready layers above that, a little bit lighter, taller and more airy. Then above all of that, you have the kind of yeasty side of the beer coming out, actually. Well, no, sorry, you've got more of the kind of more dense wheaty side of the beer there, and then it's the yeasty character above that. So you've got that, yeah, that more dense white bready wheaty sort of thing, then the yeasty side of the beer. So let's have a wee look at that yeasty side of things. So yeah, for me, the yeasty side of the beer, it's kind of brown bready at its core, then it's more white bready around the edge. So yeah, I'd say yeah, a little bit of a more grainy brown bread in the centre, then a more white bready character around the edge, and then just a little bit of bread crust, actually. So that yeasty character sits there on top of the back third of your palate and lingers into the aftertaste. But definitely, yeah, back third of the palate, you can feel the flavour is taller. Then as you move further forward into the middle third of your tongue, it just kind of condenses down and squashes together that little bit more. So yeah, the way that goes together is pretty nice, I have to say. I do like that about this beer. Yeah, I think that's everything to say about the malty and yeasty side of things then. So let's go to the green component and the fruity side of things. Or green placebo, we should say. Back corners of the palate, you've got that nice little bit of earthiness in there. As you move further forward, it's a little bit more woody, and you've got a wee bit of herbal character there. And then yeah, as you move further forward, it's a little bit more floral and a wee bit more grassy, I would say, around the around the front curve of the tongue. But obviously this is placebo, because it's quite obvious when you feel the smoothness on the edge of your palate there's no hops in this beer, there isn't. But the yuzu almost kind of adds to this little bit of bitterness into the aftertaste. You can sort of makes you feel like there's a little bit of green component there. But let's go on and have a wee look at the front third of the palate with this beer then. So the border region between front third and middle third of your palate, again you get that nice little bit of bready build up in there. You've got the kind of brown bread in the base and the white bread in the middle, then a wee bit of the more dense wheaty white bread on the top. But yeah, the base of that front third of your palate's got a little bit more yeah, it has a little bit more of a kind of brown bready base, a little bit of a kind of Jacob's cream crackery character then yeah, the brown bread, the white bread, and the more dense wheaty sort of note, and a bit of the smooth oat as well, and then all the fruity character just kind of sits on top of that. So the banana is the one that kind of sits on top of everything. The banana's kind of forming the backbone, pardon me, of the beer in this case. Yeah. So the way that goes together, I think, is really nice. You've got that banana and the backbone, and the yuzu almost sits on top of that and kind of coats. It's almost like it coats that front third of your palate there. The sort of pungency of the yuzu coats everything else, which I find really interesting. So yeah, for me, I like that. The pungency of the yuzu in this one's quite interesting, but then on top of that, you can feel on the front half of that front third of your palate, the papaya kind of sits there, and the juicy, quite ripe mango sits on the back half. So yeah, it's the banana in the base. The yuzu kind of does this almost, because you get that pungency from the yuzu in the top of the flavour, but then yeah, papaya sitting on top of the yuzu, then the juicy mango sitting a little bit further back on the palate. I think that's a good way to describe what's going on with the fruity flavours of this beer. But it really is nice, this one. It's different from what I've had from Elmeleven, and it's, as I say, my first smoothie sort of sour beer from Sudden Death, but very, very good, I have to say. I do like that. And I'm guessing the reason they've kept it to 5% is, you know, the Germans like about 5% in their beers. It's just kind of the way it goes. Yeah, 4.5 to 5.5% is the kind of point where you are in Germany a lot of the time. But yeah, that is really nice. So big thumbs up to both Sudden Death and Elmeleven. I think that's everything we really need to say about the flavour of this beer. Yeah, I think we've covered everything with it. So to round off the review then, mouthfeel. It feels a little bit lighter than some of the other ones I've had involving Elmeleven before, but again, the ABV is lighter, so less malt and things, and with this beer you have to have quite a lot of wheat and oats just to thicken up that mouthfeel. And if you do that, you are of course going to put up the ABV. So yeah, for me this one is kind of mid-bodied, but certainly not the thickest of smoothie sours that I've come across. Carbonation is quite smooth. It does have that element of cleanliness and drinkability to it that you expect from a German brewed beer. IBU, I think technically in this one will be 0, but it feels like it's maybe 5 or something like that. The malt was, as we said, a wee bit drier underneath, smoother in the middle, then a kind of sweetness on top. And yeah, you have a nice little bit of just citrusy pungency to this one, but then it gets more kind of soft and juicy into the aftertaste. So yeah, I do really like how this one kind of pieces together, so it gets a big thumbs up from me. But yeah, would be very curious to see more collaborations between these guys, and I'd also be curious to see them do more kind of imperial smoothie sours, like take them up a little bit, dial them up a notch and things like this. But yeah, this was very, very good. This one was the Aspiring Beam of Light, a 5% smoothie sour with mango, papaya, yuzu and banana from Sudden Death Brewing Company in Lübeck, Schleswig-Holstein in the northwest of Germany, Lübeck. And Elmeleven from Arlöv near Malmö in Skåne in the south of Sweden. So yeah, really good beer this one, and cool to see these guys collaborate. But once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Sudden Death and Elmeleven as well, and we will no doubt return to both of these guys at some point in the fairly near future. But until the next time, Slange, Skål, cheers, check out my social media, check out their social media, and I'll see you guys in another review very, very soon. Slange, Skål, and cheers. Prost.